Okay, hi you guys. Today I want to talk about a theme that's been coming up a lot lately, and that actually this theme falls into the law of attraction, manifesting, shadow work. It falls into pretty much everything that we talk about here on this channel. But that is basically the power of belief. There's so many different areas that it's been coming up on, but one thing that I want to share with you, I read the other day about how hard it was to actually create a belief system. If you think about it in religious context, you go into the church, the seminar, Sunday school, whatever it is, you go in every Sunday and they hammer in the same thing over and over and over again. You get the same messages constantly, which creates a belief system. Even in your growing up, whatever your culture is, whatever your family makeup is, you keep receiving the same messages over and over again, because a long time ago, once upon a time, there was a belief, whether it was that coffee was bad for you or coffee is good for you, there was a belief, and that belief is said and passed down over and over and over again, and it creates a solidified belief system. And when we are trying to retrain our brain, when we are trying to manifest our greatest lives that we can have, it really starts with our belief system. Now, let me explain a couple examples. So I had a client the other day ask me to be able to see, well, where do I just get the confirmation in my psychic abilities? I just want to be able to see some kind of validation, some kind of confirmation. And what I had said to her, I said, you won't be able to see it until you believe in yourself first, until you trust yourself, until you feel that you're doing the right thing. Then, when the confirmation comes, the validation comes, you'll actually be able to see it. But think about it this way. If you don't trust yourself, you don't believe that what you're saying and doing is the right thing, even if that confirmation comes, you're going to doubt it. You're going to say, well, maybe it's not. Your ego's going to take over, and you're going to discredit the confirmation that you were given. I also want to put it in this perspective. Shadow work, setting up your life, fear or faith. When I was growing up, I had a very strong self-hate. And I'm not going to go into all the different aspects where it came from. Either way, it was there. I had it. And so in my young adult life, because I didn't like who I was, I sought out people who essentially didn't like the authentic me as well. And it wasn't their fault. It was because I was pretending to be somebody else. I was pretending to fit into a world that I believed was the perfect, ideal world. And I turned off who I was. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have self-confidence. I only had fear. So what did I do? I drew in an entire world, an entire 20 years of life that didn't fit who I was, that caused me more pain. But it all came down to my belief system. So when I was in that marriage during this 20 years of running away from myself, I wasn't married for 20 years, but I was married for 12, but the self-hate came way before that, right? He would always say, you and your spiritual bullshit. And of course, after we split up, I looked at him and was like, that was abusive, and you didn't validate who I was, and you never liked me to begin with. Well, all of that was true, but I didn't like me either. And I thought it was spiritual bullshit. I was running away from me. So because I had that belief system, that's what kept being reinforced. Deep down inside, that is what I was seeking out, was to see the bullshit, was to be validated, essentially, that my life was bad, because that's what I believed. So I was looking for that confirmation. You can apply this to anything. anything that is in your belief system, the amount of money you make, the quality of life, your relationships. It wasn't until I started to believe in myself, I started to love myself, I started to really do shadow work, dissect my own toxic traits and beliefs, that somebody who actually loves me for who I am showed up in my life. But they didn't show up to teach me how to love myself. They didn't show up when I was in the worst of the worst, hating myself. They showed up when I already started to love myself, when I already started to trust myself, when I already started to believe in myself. And it's the same thing with magic. It is an attraction. So when Esther Hicks says you can't get there from here, and she's talking about the feelings that you feel, it's because even if it shows up, you won't see it. We have something which I talk about a lot, reticular activating system. That reticular activating system is what opens up our awareness. So once we hear something, we believe something, our awareness, our RAS is open and we start to see it. When we are blocked off from something, it's called a scotoma, which we've heard about, and this very classic example about not being able to see the salt shaker. Honey, go get me the salt shaker. I don't fucking see it. Where is it? It's right in front of your face. No, it's not. It's because your belief is that it's not there, is that you can't see it, that you can't find it. And then your spouse walks over and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's right there. Well, you believed in your mind that you didn't know where it was. Therefore, you didn't know where it was. Therefore, you didn't see it. You created a block. It's the same thing when you're trying to manifest money, when you're trying to manifest a wonderful life, when you're trying to heal yourself and be in a happy place. In 2018, before I tried to unalive myself, I started writing myself cards. I started writing, Dear Stephanie, you are loved, you are beautiful, you are powerful, all of those things. And I would hide them all over my house, and I've told some of you this before. And I didn't stop there, though. I wrote it on, I was still in education at the time. I wrote the things that I wanted to believe on the whiteboard. I wrote them on my mirror. I wrote them in my notebooks. Every time I have all these little, I'll show you. I have all these little journals, and they're full of basically love notes to myself, because I wanted to learn how to love me, and I needed that reinforcement. I needed not to hear it from church, not to hear it from my CODA meetings. I needed to hear it from me. Because if I didn't hear it from me and I was still looking for outside validation, I hadn't changed my belief system about who I was. So I had to actually love myself first before I could find people who loved me, before I could even see the family that was already in my life that actually loved me. I couldn't see it because I didn't love me first. So even if they show up and you haven't changed that internal dialogue, you haven't changed that internal belief, you're not gonna see it. You can't even find friends who genuinely love you for who you are until you genuinely love you for who you are. You'll see lots of shiny, happy people, and lots of shiny, happy people will see you, but it won't be a sustainable relationship. It won't be a sustainable friendship. I can tell you, I have had many beautiful friendships in my life, growing up, in my small years, in my teen years, in my 20s, 30s. I've had lots of beautiful people in my life that are no longer here. And it's not their fault. It's absolutely my fault, because I couldn't recognize the things when they would say loving things to me. It almost hurt. I remember one time as a teenager being downtown Northport, and I was crying and I was depressed, and my girlfriend was just telling me, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I remember the physical pain I felt because I couldn't accept it. It was almost like it was ripping my skin open, because I wanted so badly to be loved, and here she was saying that she loved me, but I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel it in a happy, joyful way because I didn't believe it. Nothing about my disposition in that moment was loving, was self-loving. So no matter who told me they loved me for the first 40 years of my life, I didn't believe them because I didn't love me. And I kept bringing in toxic people and toxic relationships, and I didn't show people who I really was, and I ran and I hid. And it wasn't until I broke down and my world crashed, like crashed, and everything. Divorce, sold the house, lost the job, my mentor died. I mean, like all the things that could possibly happen happened. But I found myself, and I decided it was time to love myself. It was, when I tried to unalive myself, I heard that your pain will not die with your body. That was the sentence I heard. Your pain will not die with your body. Your pain will infect the people who love you like a cancer, and it will slowly kill them. And in that moment, I knew I only had one choice. And I know I've said this before, but it was such an impactful moment of my life. I will say it 1,000,000 times over and over again, because that's how you create a belief system. But in that moment, I decided the only option I had was to learn how to love myself at all costs. And let me tell you, I have made some pretty large fucking sacrifices to rid myself of old habits, to rid myself of toxicity, and to find my own love inside of myself. Now, I will be honest with you guys, I am not at the point in my life where I'm ready to invite new people in, where I'm ready to find close friendships. Right now, it's me, my kids, and my boyfriend, and that's my circle. That's it. That's all I want around me right now. And it's not because I don't love people, because I do. But it's because I'm still learning and I'm still growing, and I don't know who I want to spend my time with because I'm still learning who I am. And that's okay.